So today we are going to understand how does the body burn fat, because this is the basic principle. If you understand this basic principle, you will be able to apply this and get 100% fat burn in an accurate way, right? So let's first understand what is the chemical formula for fat. So the chemical formula for fat is C55H98O6. That means it is C, H and O. Now, whenever fat burns, there will be two byproducts that come out of fat. One is CO2, which is carbon dioxide, of course, and the other one is H2O, which is water. So CO2, of course, as you know, will come out of your body through the nostrils when you breathe out, or through your mouth when you breathe out. But how does water come out of your body? So there are two ways where water will get out of your body. A is through your sweat, through your lymphatic drainage system, and B is through the urine that you do. Now, a lot of times people do an intense cardio workout and they are on calorie deficit, but they forget to drink enough water. And this is why the body is unable to get the fat out of the body, in spite of the fact that they are doing a caloric deficit and they are also following a very intense workout. So make sure that your water intake is optimal. Now, when it comes to workout intensity, how do we make sure that our body will utilize the fat to do an activity so that we get the fat burn, right? So as you all know that we need to get into a fat burn zone, which is also called an anaerobic zone, where the oxygen that is getting supplied to your body is not enough in comparison with the energy required that your body is doing that activity at. So there is where the body is compelled to break down the fats which are stored in your body to generate more energy so that the activity can be sustained for a longer period of time. So how do we make sure that we get into that? It's a simple Carbonell's formula where you have your age, 220 is a mean, so 220 minus your age, minus your resting heart rate. So you all need to know what is your resting heart rate, into intensity. So ideally for an intermediate person, the intensity of this cardio would be somewhere around, say, 70% to 75% of his maximum heart rate. So you need to calculate the 70% limit and then add the resting heart rate to it, which will give you a number. So for example, say 130. So 130 beats per minute would be a lower limit of fat burn zone. Similarly, you should calculate your 75% of it, which is again 220 minus your age minus your resting heart rate into 75% plus your resting heart rate. So this will give you another number which might be somewhere around 135, 140 approximately, which is your higher limit of the fat burn zone. So now whenever you're doing any activity which you are into 130 to 140, this is just an approximate, I'm hypothetically talking, you are making sure you are burning and fat which is stored in your body to generate energy to continue that activity. This is how you will make sure you metabolize your fat and burn it off. Just walking on the treadmill or just going for a walk or just doing cycling without monitoring your heart rate will give you a caloric burn. Now that doesn't mean that you're burning fat. A caloric burn is different, where you're going into an excessive calorie, say consumption, not consumption, but excessive calorie expenditure. So you're increasing the level of activities that you're doing. So for example, there are a lot of bodybuilders or there are a lot of fitness people who do a caloric deficit diet. They do a very good intense workout and then they have a post, like an evening session where they do a steady state cardio. Now the intensity that they follow is very low intensity, and the intention with which they are doing is just to make sure they're burning more number of calories as compared to what they're eating. So you have to understand what is the strategy you are applying to burn fat. Is your strategy that you are going into a deficit and you are making sure you're burning more calories, and this is the caloric deficit you have created and this is how much you're going to burn? Or you're metabolically activating your muscle to make sure that they burn the calories even they are at rest. So this is how, it's just a simple explanation of how fat burns. Again, it is individualized. So you need to make sure that you calculate the Carbonell's formula right, you get your resting heart rate right. Also, you need to understand whether you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced person in that particular activity that you're calculating yourself to be in that heart rate zone. So if it's a workout session, which is a weight training session, then your muscular strength, according to that, are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? If it's a cardio, then your cardiovascular fitness, if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. If it is about any other activity, accordingly, you have to calculate, which an expert can tell you. If you need any help, you can DM me.